Committee on Economic Development will now come to order. Please call the roll.
Chair Grier, Vice Chair Riggs.
Here.
Representatives Barnes. Here. Baker. Here. Boggs. Cups. Deaton. Gunby. Johnson. Here. Smith. Here. Trent.
All right. Quorum being present, Committee on Economic Development will now go into executive session. I move that House Bill 1661, sponsored by Representative Hicks, be voted to pass. Any discussion? Representative Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the bill sponsor in today?
I do not see the bill sponsor.
Well, I was just going to ask for just a little brief scenario. I wasn't here last week, and I'm probably going to be just a no this morning just because I wasn't here.
All right. Senator Gunby.
To inquire, Mr. Chair, but I understand the bill sponsor isn't here, so.
Proceed as you can.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, I had talked to a group and they indicated that there would be the inclusion of the Uniform Swimming Pool Spa and Hot Tub Code. Means that the Uniform Swimming Pool Spa and Hot Tub Code promulgated by the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials, that they were told that that would be included. So I just wanted confirmation on that. But since get that, I'm going to be a no too. Because we don't have a substitute, correct? It's just the original.
Not that I've seen, so
Okay.
it might be a better course of action just to say we'll hold on to this one for a bit. In the event that the bill sponsor makes it in, we can always bring that back up and
Okay.
just basically move
Thank you.
forward. All right, then, at this time, withdraw the motion to go ahead and exec out HB 1661. That brings us to HB 1860. And I believe the bill sponsor is here. And would move that HB 1860 be voted to pass. Discussion? Representative Barnes.
To inquire the bill sponsor.
Proceed.
Yes, I've read over this, and I do recall this last year from a different representative. And it's just shocking that we want to take the benefits away from our workers after they've worked hard and for no reason of their own, sometimes that they have to go on unemployment. And really stung me is that if the percentage is 3.5, you only get 8 weeks, which is just merely 2 months, when in the past we've had up to 26 weeks, I recall. And so the rural area versus city areas have two different unemployment rates. And I know you're talking about just the state unemployment rate, which is the average. So are you saying even in the city versus the rural area, it doesn't matter?
Right, so this would use the state unemployment rate, which while there may be a difference between the two, I don't know that it's a major difference. It may be a slight difference between the two. But yeah, that's what it would be. And this is identical to the way this bill ended up at the end of last year.
Yeah, that's why I know. That's why I said I recall that. And unfortunately, you know, I know you think you're doing the right thing, just the opposite of what I think, but I'm going to have to be a no this morning. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, would go ahead and vote that this do pass and ask for the roll to be called.
Chair Greyer. Vice Chair Riggs.
Aye.
Representatives Barnes. No. Baker. Aye. Boggs. Aye. Cups. Deaton. Aye. Gunby. No. Johnson. No. Smith. Yes. Trent.
All right, by your vote of 6 ayes, 3 noes, and 2 absent, you voted House Bill 1860 as do pass. I now move that House Bill 2131, sponsored by Representative Haley, be voted do pass. Any discussion? And I do have a substitute ending in .02C. It has been distributed, and I move for its adoption. Is there any discussion? Representative Baker.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Could we get the bill sponsor to just kind of explain the sub just briefly?
Would appear so. May proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate the chance to explain this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. This was heard 3 weeks ago, so I'll refresh your memory just a minute. It is the cosmetology bill that widens the licensing so that they can serve more customers away from a physical location. The current statute states that at least 51% must be in a facility, and it kind of prohibited a total mobile business or in-home business from being organized. And I have to say that I really appreciate the cooperation and work with actually several things, the board of cosmetology instructors, and also the Division of Professional Registration with Mr. Sutton on coming up with a great solution to this. So I call your attention to lines 54 and 55 have a new definition for professional service registration. And then lines 85 and 86 talk about a place-bound client. It's a loose definition of a place-bound client is a client who is ill, disabled, or otherwise unable to travel to a cosmetology establishment. A new subsection was added for a cosmetologist that would like to serve these place-bound clients, and the registration is known as a personal service registration. So there's a whole new description of that. The cosmetologist will have to have their license available, but they're not required to give it to every client they go to. Their tools are inspected once a year, and then the tools they could also be inspected if there was a complaint filed with the Registration Bureau. Unfortunately, Representative Johnson, it doesn't really address a total mobile van like we had talked about, but it is a major step in the right direction for servicing these clients that are unable to travel to the establishment. Any more questions?
Is it fair to say that these changes are cosmetic changes?
I would say that that could be a term used.
It's early. I apologize. Any further discussion? If not, go ahead and move to a vote. All those in favor of adopting the substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and you have adopted the substitute. I now move that House Committee substitute for House Bill 2131 be voted do pass. Is there any discussion? None. Please call the roll.
Chair Greyer. Vice Chair Riggs.
Aye.
Representatives Barnes.
Yes.
Baker. Boggs. Yes. Cups. Deaton. I'm sorry.
Louder, please.
Thank you. Gunby. Johnson. Smith. Trent.
By your vote of 9 ayes, 0 noes, 2 absent, you have passed, voted House Committee substitute for House Bill 2131 as do pass. I now move that House Bill 2485, sponsored by Representative Knight, be voted do pass. Is there any discussion? Representative Gunby? Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Barnes.
To inquire.
Proceed.
Is the bill sponsor here?
He is.
Yes.
Come on down.
Well, good morning, sir. Yeah, and I'm not going to be long. I missed last week, and I apologize for not being here. I just have I know I'm your substitute, and I haven't had a chance to go all the way through it. Do this company have to have a permit?
There are regular, I think it's in section 2, it clarifies the permit process. Some were, I think-
Section 2?
Yeah, I think people were mistaken that it exempts the process from all permits. It's not the case. It literally just treats these processes as manufacturers and doesn't really jeopardize the definition of solid waste. So if you're dealing with solid waste, you still have to have the solid waste permits.
Okay. Is it recycle or is it something else?
This product?
Yes.
It's recycled plastics, which turns into merely a manufacturing process.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's pretty long, very lengthy, and
Oh, there's words in here longer than the bill.
I know that's why I have a hard time with
Yeah.
it. So, but it's going to take me a little time to get up to speed. I'm probably going to be a no today, but it could change by the time I hit the floor.
It's literally a manufacturing economic development bill.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm gonna need a scientist to talk to or something. No, but appreciate you.
You're looking at the wrong person.
The wrong one. Okay. Thanks.
Representative Gunby, did you have?
To inquire. Good morning. I know I brought up the issue of permits, but the other thing, I find it very suspect that the Department of Natural Resources did not testify at all, and this would fall under their purview. So, and actually I reached out to my liaison, and the response was, we're going to observe, which I find very interesting when this is going to be under your purview. So I'm a no because
Well, I will tell you that the Department of Natural Resources were involved in all the conversations that took place as a result of this sub. They wanted it to be a little bit more narrow, and to my knowledge, we've addressed their issues.
Okay. Well, they didn't respond to me, so I'm a no. But I mean, I appreciate that, but I just think that's really strange that the department that this would fall under has no comment, so.
They're not in opposition. If they had a really serious concern, they
Well,
would be in opposition.
Well, I guess when you're going to build an $800 million facility and have chemicals created, I just feel like I need a little bit more personally. So before I, would give my yes. So it just too big, too fast, not enough information for me personally. Thank you.
Any further discussion before I move for the adoption of the substitute ending in .04C? Representative Baker.
To inquire briefly, did we resolve any of the heartburn that was happening with other stakeholders in the sub? I mean, did we get to a place of compromise there? What
I
were the
think
main
we've
changes?
addressed the paper industry in this sub. We've addressed the ISRA concerns in different areas of this bill. We clarified the mass balance attribution to manufacture new plastics, which I think satisfied some people's concerns. And we actually added the defining of the mechanical process of the feedstock. I literally think like Nucor, some of these people that came in and had concerns of not necessarily this bill, but what it could do to their byproduct, they've been addressed.
Yeah, thank you.
Further discussion before I move for substitute ending in 04C, which has been distributed, and I move for its adoption and discussion. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor of adopting the substitute signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You have adopted the substitute. I now move that House Committee substitute for House Bill 2485 be voted to pass. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Chair Guyer. Vice Chair Riggs.
Aye.
Representatives Barnes. No. Baker. Boggs. Cups. Deaton. Gunby. Johnson. Smith. Trent.
All right. By your vote of 6 ayes, 3 noes, 2 absent, you have voted. House Committee substitute for House Bill 2485 is due pass. I now move that House Bill 2587, sponsored by Representative Riley, be voted due pass. I have an amendment. Oh, excuse me. Any discussion? Representative Gunby.
I just want to commend the bill sponsor. He does not have to come around and talk to some of us in the minority party, but I really appreciate the fact that some of the issues that I raised, he came and talked to me about those and made good on his promises. So I just want to lift that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Johnson.
Just the same sentiments, Chairman, that Representative Riley went above and beyond because he doesn't have to come to the minority side and speak with us. And I feel the same sentiments that Representative Gunby has, is that he did an excellent job in coming to explain the concerns that we had. And I do appreciate him for that, and I will be a yes on this. Thank you.
Representative Deaton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to know for the record, the bill sponsor didn't come see me, and I'm feeling a bit neglected at this point in time and perhaps reconsidering, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any others? All right. I have an amendment ending in 01H. It's been distributed. I move for its adoption. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting House Committee Amendment number 1 signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You've adopted the amendment. I now move we roll the amendment into a new substitute and adopt the substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. You've adopted the substitute. I now move that House Committee substitute for House Bill 2587 be voted to pass. Is there any discussion? Representative Baker.
Just real quick, could you just kind of go over those changes in the amendment?
Absolutely. Mr. Chair, is that okay with you?
Sure is.
Okay. So this addresses a number of the concerns that popped up during our hearing last week. So with respect to yours specifically, you had some concerns over the cost of the application fee, which I shared. So this amendment changes that $5,000 application fee, which we all agreed was too high, to a $300 application fee, which it puts it much more in the range of where we see some of the other sandbox application fees. I think that number is a reasonable number in that it makes sure that people still have skin in the game. You don't just have people filing all kinds of frivolous applications that are going to bog down the departments, but it's not going to be so high that it's going to be cost prohibitive for an innovator who doesn't have $5,000 sitting around to use as an application fee for something that may ultimately never get approved. So that took care of the item that you had some concerns about. I worked with Representative Gunby closely on a few of these things to address a couple of things that she had some concerns about. So she had mentioned, what about, she had some concerns about some entity perhaps sitting in the sandbox for a very long period of time and not ever getting out of there. So I worked with her to include a cap on the amount of time that an entity can take advantage of the opportunities provided for the sandbox. So we agreed to that 2-year initial period would still be in place, and then an entity could apply to be in the sandbox for another 5 years. Ultimately, would be the cap. So a total of 7 years. We didn't want to have a situation where we would kick somebody out too early before they had a chance to really prove up their concept. But we also don't want to have a situation where someone's just sitting in there forever. That would be problematic. So that's included in there. Worked with one of the departments, Division of Professional Registration, asked to be carved out of the bill. I agreed to that. And their issue was they couldn't really foresee a situation where they would ever agree to a waiver of a license. And that seems reasonable. They were also positive in that they indicated that if it seemed like this was going to be an issue that pops up in the future, they would be open to taking another look at it. But I did some research on my own with some of the other sandboxes that are in place, had a number of discussions, and it doesn't seem like there are a lot of entities that are applying to sandboxes that really fall within that world. So that shouldn't be an issue. If it does become an issue where we have multiple entities that do want to apply to avail themselves of the sandbox, they have agreed to reconsider that in the future if the need arises. So I agreed to include the language that they asked for in here as well. The other item, so one other item that Representative Gunby brought to me and came up in committee was, the idea here is that if any agency doesn't believe that a certain applicant would be appropriate for the sandbox for whatever reason, health, safety concerns, that they have ultimate veto power. And there were some concerns raised over, well, what happens if you have multiple agencies that would potentially oversee a particular entity? Who controls if one or two say yes and one says no? And the original language, I think, was clear that one entity, the vetoing agency, controls, but I put some specific language in there to clarify crystal clear that if one agency says no, we don't approve the application, that veto controls, even if you have 1, 2, 3 or more that say yes. So those addressed her concerns with respect to that. The only other item is, in addition to overseeing that the sandbox program, that regulatory relief office that's created under the department, had a number of other things that we wanted them to do, including looking at other regulations that were already in place that perhaps make no sense, and providing recommendations to us if they thought there were certain things that we should repeal, or they could go to the other departments to do that. Under the original language, we said that would, and basically their job description, we had it as may, they may do this. I changed it to a shall, that this is something that they shall do. So that is the other item that is included in this amendment.
I appreciate the thorough explanation, and thank you for taking care of that application fee.
Yes, sir.
I did think that's a good idea, so appreciate it.
Further discussion? Representative Johnson.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? All right, if not, please call the roll. I did. I now move again that House Committee substitute for House Bill 2587 be voted to pass. Please call the roll.
Chair Greyer, Vice Chair Riggs,
Aye.
Representatives Barnes,
Mr. Chair, I'm going to be a yes today, subject to change once I get through reading the substitute.
Qualified yes.
Yes.
Baker, Boggs, Cups, Deaton, Gunby, Johnson, Smith, Trent.
All right, by your vote of 9 ayes, 0 noes, and 2 absent. You have voted House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2587 as due pass. With no other business at this time, and I just make an announcement, HB 1661 at the request of the bill sponsor will be taken up at a later date. This committee is now adjourned.